The narrow road wound between low mountains as Olivia finally spotted the wooden sign announcing the small town where she had decided to start over. The old car shook with every turn, as if it mirrored the fragility she carried inside. When she parked in front of the modest house she had rented online, Olivia took a deep breath, trying to believe that this place would be enough to quiet the pain that had followed her since the accident that took her parents. The house was small, with peeling walls and an abandoned garden begging for care, but there was something comforting in its simplicity. Olivia pushed the door open and faced the cold emptiness of the bare walls. She set her bags down and began assembling one of the new pieces of furniture, but the wood refused to fit. After several frustrated attempts, she dropped the tools with a sigh. That was when she heard a gentle knock on the door. When she opened it, she found a tall man with a calm gaze and work-marked hands. "Hi, you must be the new resident. I'm Liam. I live around the corner. I saw your car and thought you might need some help." Olivia hesitated, but allowed him inside. Liam examined the furniture, gave a small smile and began fixing it as if it were the simplest thing in the world. She watched in silence, surprised by his kindness, and for the first time in a long while felt the tension she carried ease, if only a little. When Liam finished, Olivia thanked him, and he said goodbye with a quiet smile, a gesture that unknowingly marked the beginning of something she was far from understanding. The next morning, Olivia woke before sunrise. The house still felt strange, echoing her footsteps, as if it were watching every movement. Trying to keep her mind busy, she decided to walk to the town center. The streets were quiet, with old facades that made it seem like time passed more slowly there. There was a cafe, a tiny bookstore, and beside it, the woodworking shop Liam had mentioned the night before. Olivia considered walking past, but something, perhaps curiosity, perhaps lingering gratitude, made her stop in front of the open door. The scent of freshly cut wood surrounded her immediately. Inside, Liam was sanding a board, focused, his face lit by the light streaming through the window. He lifted his gaze and smiled when he recognized her. "Good morning, Olivia. Sleep well?" She shrugged. "Still getting used to it." Liam set the board on the workbench and wiped his hands. "Want to see how things work around here? Might help clear your mind." Olivia hadn't expected the invitation, but she accepted. He showed her tools, explained projects, and shared short stories about local customers. Little by little she relaxed, even letting a few small smiles escape. Liam noticed and kept the pace gentle, as if he knew exactly how far he could go. At one point, he talked about losing his father years ago. His voice carried a calmness that didn't hide the pain, it simply made it honest. "Sometimes starting over is the only choice," he said. Olivia remained quiet, but something in those words struck deeply. For the first time since her arrival, she felt she might not be as alone as she had imagined. Over the next few days, Olivia found herself passing by the woodworking shop more often than she meant to. Sometimes Liam was too focused on his work to notice her. Other times, he greeted her with that calm smile that was slowly becoming familiar. Somehow, his presence made the town feel less empty. One afternoon, as she approached the shop, Olivia saw a young woman hugging Liam. She looked about Olivia's age, pretty, confident, with her hair tied up in a casual knot. The hug wasn't brief, nor did it look like a simple greeting. Olivia stopped without realizing it, her body tensing before her mind could insist she had no reason to react. She lowered her gaze, trying to gather herself, but a knot formed in her chest, pulsing with a discomfort she didn't want to acknowledge. When she finally stepped inside, the woman was already walking away, waving at Liam with a warm smile. "Olivia?" Liam called, noticing the stiffness in her expression. "Everything okay?" "Yes, of course." The answer came too quickly. Liam hesitated, as if sensing something unspoken, but didn't push. Olivia didn't push either. The air between them, once light, now carried a subtle tension. As she walked home, Olivia realized, with an uneasy twist in her stomach, that the jealousy she had felt wasn't just about the woman. It was about her fear of losing anything, or anyone, she allowed herself to care about. That evening, after another long attempt to organize the house, Olivia stood in the kitchen staring at a loose drawer that refused to slide back into place. The frustration she had tentado esconder durante días finalmente transbordó. She sat down, feeling the weight of starting over press against her chest. A soft knock broke the silence. When she opened the door, Liam was there holding a small container. "I made dinner and ended up with too much," he said. "Thought you might want some." Olivia wasn't expecting kindness at that exact moment, and maybe that was why she stepped aside without thinking. They ate together at her small table, the warm smell of the food filling the house that still felt too empty. The conversation was quiet at first, but soon it became natural, lighter, almost comforting. Liam talked about a table he was building. Olivia shared how overwhelming everything still felt. After they finished, Liam offered to look at the drawer. "This is nothing," he said, kneeling to fix it. Olivia approached to see what he was doing, and when he stood to explain, they found themselves close, closer than either expected. The world seemed to pause, a breath, a heartbeat, a possibility. Olivia felt the pull, subtle but undeniable, and then a sharp knock at the door shattered the moment. "Liam," a woman's voice called. "Hayley." Hayley's arrival felt like a sudden shift in the room, as if the warmth that had slowly settled between Olivia and Liam had been pushed aside. She stood at the doorway with a confident smile, her eyes flicking between them with subtle curiosity. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she said, though there was a certainty in her tone that implied she knew she was. Liam stiffened. "Hayley, I didn't expect you." "I figured," she replied lightly, holding a small paper bag. "I found a few of your things. Thought you might want them back." She stepped inside farther than she needed to, letting her gaze wander across the kitchen before landing briefly on Olivia, long enough to make a point. Olivia offered a polite nod, but inside her chest something tightened, a feeling she wished she didn't recognize so easily. "You could have just left it at my place," Liam said, trying to keep the moment controlled. Hayley shrugged. "Maybe, but it gave me a reason to stop by." Her voice carried a softness directed at Liam, the kind that comes from history. History Olivia suddenly felt painfully aware of. Trying to be respectful, Olivia took a small step back, but the distance only made her feel more exposed. Hayley seemed to notice. "So, you're Olivia," she said, her tone smooth but undeniably assessing. "Yes," Olivia answered quietly. "Nice to meet you." Hayley murmured with a faint smile. "I'm sure." Liam let out a breath. "Hayley, not now. We can talk another time." She hesitated, then handed him the bag. "All right, tomorrow then." When she finally left, the silence that remained felt heavier than before. Liam looked at Olivia, troubled. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't want you to meet her like that." Olivia managed a small nod, but inside, doubts had already begun to stir. For the next couple of days, Olivia kept her distance. She told herself it was because she needed time to settle into the house, but deep down she knew the truth. Hayley's presence had unsettled her in a way she wasn't ready to admit. Every time she thought about visiting the workshop, something inside her tightened, as if warning her to stay away. Liam noticed the silence. He stopped by once, knocking gently on her door, but Olivia pretended not to hear. She watched him through the window as he waited a moment, his shoulders sinking before he walked away. The sight left an ache she didn't know how to handle. On the third day, Olivia finally stepped outside to pick up some groceries. As she crossed the street, she saw Liam and Hayley talking near the workshop. Hayley laughed at something standing close, far too close. Liam didn't seem engaged, but Olivia didn't stay long enough to understand the context. The image alone was enough to unravel her. That evening, Liam showed up again. This time, Olivia opened the door, though her expression was guarded. "Have I done something?" he asked, worry lining his features. "No," she said quickly. "I just need space." "Because of Hayley." Olivia hesitated just long enough for him to understand. He sighed. "She came to talk about the past. That's all. I didn't choose for her to show up." "I know," Olivia murmured, "but I can't handle this. Not now. I'm still trying to breathe here, Liam." Her voice trembled despite her effort to steady it. Liam took a small step closer. "Then let me help you." But Olivia shook her head. "I can't. I can barely hold myself together. I'm sorry." She closed the door gently before he could respond. Inside, Olivia slid down to the floor, breath shaking. Outside, Liam stayed for a long moment before finally walking away. The distance between them, once subtle, had become unmistakably real. The following days passed in a blur of silence. Olivia moved through the house like a shadow, rearranging objects that didn't need rearranging, cleaning what was already clean. None of it quieted the ache she felt after closing the door on Liam. Every time she tried to distract herself, memories of his expression, hurt, confused, patient, came back uninvited. On a late afternoon walk back from the grocery store, she nearly dropped her bag when Haley stepped out from behind a parked car, blocking her path. "We need to talk," Haley said, arms folded. Olivia tensed. "I don't think we do." Haley tilted her head. "You're hurting him, you know." Olivia stiffened but stayed silent. "And before you get the wrong idea," Haley continued, "I'm not here to fight you over Liam. I'm here because you clearly don't understand what you're pushing away." Olivia's brows knit. "What are you talking about?" Haley exhaled, as if deciding whether the truth was worth saying. "The night your parents had their accident. Liam was there. He saw the crash. He was the one who called for help. He stayed with them until the paramedics arrived." Olivia froze, the world narrowing to a single heartbeat. "He never told you," Haley said, her voice softer now, "because he thought it would break you. He thought you had enough grief to carry." Olivia swallowed hard, her mind spinning. "Why would you tell me this?" Haley hesitated. "Because he won't. And because you deserve to know what kind of man he is." Then she stepped aside, leaving Olivia standing alone, shaken, breath unsteady, and suddenly seeing Liam in a completely different light. Olivia didn't remember the walk back home. Her mind replayed Haley's words over and over until they blurred into a single ache in her chest. Liam had been there. On the worst night of her life, he had seen what she couldn't bear to remember, and instead of using that truth to earn her trust, he had carried it alone. As evening settled, Olivia found herself standing outside the woodworking shop. The lights were still on. Her pulse hammered as she stepped inside. Liam looked up immediately. The moment their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them. Pain, worry, and a longing neither had dared to voice. "Olivia," he said softly, almost in disbelief. "Are you okay?" She shook her head. "Why didn't you tell me?" Liam froze. It took only a second for him to understand. His shoulders dropped. "Haley told you. She said you were there. That you stayed." Olivia's voice trembled. "Why hide something like that?" Liam stepped closer, slowly, as if afraid she might vanish. "Because it wasn't about me. You'd already lost so much. I didn't want to add another ghost to your memories." Tears filled her eyes, not from anger, but from the weight of compassion she hadn't expected. "You should have trusted me," she whispered. "I know," he said, voice breaking, "but I never stopped caring." Olivia inhaled shakily, then closed the distance between them, not with certainty but with a fragile, desperate courage. And when Liam pulled her into his arms, it wasn't a grand declaration. It was a quiet, necessary truth finally finding its place. The days that followed carried a different kind of quiet, gentler, steadier. Olivia no longer avoided the workshop. Instead, she found herself drawn to it, to the warmth she had once feared. Liam gave her space when she needed it, and stayed close when silence felt heavy. They rebuilt the fragile bridge between them slowly, without rushing the wounds or the healing. Haley left town not long after, her presence fading like a chapter that had finally closed. One morning, as Olivia stood in her small garden, Liam wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Ready for a new beginning?" he whispered. This time she was. Spring arrived slowly in the small town, warming the corners of Olivia's life that had once felt unreachable. She and Liam built their new beginning with patience. One conversation, one shared silence, one small act of trust at a time. The grief she carried didn't vanish, but it settled, no longer leading her steps. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Olivia looked at Liam and realized something simple and profound. Healing hadn't come all at once, but it had come. And love had been the quiet hand that guided her through winter.